Thai F-16s ruled the skies, while Cambodia's Chinese-supplied jets never left the ground. In just a few days of escalation along the Thailand-Cambodia border, a brutal reality was laid bare. Air power decides modern conflict, and Cambodia had none. 6 Chinese-made FTC-2000G fighter jets, worth over $50 million and advertised as Cambodia's pride, sat motionless on the runway as Thai aircraft carried out real strike missions overhead. The imbalance was absolute. One side controlled the air, the other absorbed the blows. And China, the arms supplier and Cambodia's closest political patron, said nothing. This was not merely a border clash, it was a live-fire exposure of what Chinese military aid is really worth when war stops being theoretical. As Thai F-16s crossed into contested zones and launched precision strikes, Cambodia's air force remained invisible. No interceptions, no counterattacks, no aerial presence of any kind. The silence from Cambodian airbases was deafening. Those 6 Chinese jets, paraded in ceremonies, praised in state media, and used to project an image of modernization, were suddenly useless. In the moment that mattered, they became hangar decorations. The scene was humiliating, but it was also predictable. For years, tensions along the Thailand-Cambodia border simmered beneath a thin layer of diplomatic calm. Unresolved boundary disputes, internal political pressures, and the growth of cross-border criminal networks steadily eroded stability. What changed this time was Thailand's response. Bangkok did not hesitate. It acted with speed, coordination, and confidence, hallmarks of a military that expects its equipment to actually work. Cambodia, by contrast, was exposed as a state that bought weapons for display, not war. Thailand's air force reflects decades of integration with Western military systems. Its F-16s are not just jets, they are nodes in a network. Early warning aircraft, ground-based radar, secure data links, and trained pilots operating under a unified command structure create an environment where air dominance is not a gamble, but a calculation. When Thai jets took off, they did so knowing they would see first, strike first, and leave before any response could materialize. Cambodia never had that option. The FTC-2000G fighters supplied by China were marketed as affordable, capable, and sufficient for national defense. In reality, they represent the very definition of tofu weapons, hardware that looks solid on paper but collapses under real pressure. These jets lack modern ASA radar, lack secure battlefield data links, and lack long-range air-to-air missiles. Against a networked opponent, they are effectively blind, deaf, and isolated. Launching them into Thai-controlled airspace would not have been resistance. It would have been suicide. Cambodian commanders knew this. The decision to keep the jets grounded was not cowardice, it was realism. Once airborne, those aircraft would have been detected instantly, targeted from beyond visual range, and destroyed before pilots ever saw their enemy. Losing planes and pilots in the opening hours would have been a public disaster, proof that the Chinese equipment was not merely inferior but unusable, so they stayed on the ground. And in doing so, they confirmed everything critics have long said about Chinese military exports. On the ground, Cambodian forces relied on artillery and rocket systems, many of them older Chinese models with limited accuracy and range. These weapons could harass border areas, but could not change the strategic equation. Each Thai airstrike widened the gap, reinforcing a one-sided reality. Thailand dictated the pace of escalation, while Cambodia endured it. But the most revealing actor in this confrontation was neither Thailand nor Cambodia. It was China. Despite being the supplier of Cambodia's air force, despite years of calling Cambodia an ironclad friend, Beijing remained conspicuously silent. No warnings, no mediation, no show of force, no emergency resupply, nothing. As Thai bombs fell and Cambodian jets sat idle, China watched from a distance. For Southeast Asia, the message was chillingly clear. Chinese weapons do not come with Chinese protection. This silence was not an accident. It was policy. China's arms exports are not designed to create equal partners. They are tools of influence, not guarantees of security. Beijing equips different countries differently, based on utility rather than alliance. States that serve as strategic buffers or military proxies receive advanced systems and sustained support. States that serve political or economic functions receive just enough hardware to maintain loyalty and appearances. Cambodia falls squarely into the second category. Its value to Beijing lies in diplomatic alignment, blocking consensus in regional forums, hosting Chinese capital flows, and providing permissive space for Chinese-backed projects, both legal and illegal. For these purposes, Cambodia does not need a real air force. It needs symbols, a few jets, a few parades, a narrative of partnership. Combat capability would be expensive, destabilizing, and unnecessary. This explains why Cambodia's air force collapsed without firing a shot. It was never built for war. It was built for show. Over the past decade, Cambodia's security apparatus has quietly shifted away from national defense. Increasingly, it functions to protect commercial interests, especially in coastal zones dominated by casinos, logistics hubs, and sprawling online fraud operations tied to foreign money. In this environment, military hardware serves as deterrent theater rather than a fighting instrument. Pilots receive limited flight hours. Training is minimal. Risk tolerance is near zero. When real conflict appears, the instinct is preservation, not engagement. A downed Chinese jet over the border would not just be a military loss. It would be a political embarrassment. It would raise uncomfortable questions about China's promises, its weapons, and its willingness to stand by its clients. Grounding the fleet avoided immediate humiliation, but at the cost of total exposure. Thailand demonstrated capability. Cambodia demonstrated dependency. China demonstrated indifference. This episode shattered the illusion of ironclad partnership. When conflict turned kinetic, Cambodia stood alone. No Chinese shield appeared, no red line was drawn. Beijing's commitment ended at the point of sale. The implications extend far beyond this border clash. Regionally, governments are watching closely. Many have purchased Chinese weapons for the same reasons Cambodia did: low cost, easy financing, and political convenience. But war is the ultimate audit, and grounded aircraft are a devastating balance sheet. Chinese arms credibility does not rise or fall on brochures. It is forged or destroyed by performance under fire. In this case, performance was zero. Worse, silence amplified the failure. Buyers do not just ask whether weapons work, they ask whether suppliers stand behind them when they don't. The answer, now, is painfully clear. For Cambodia, the damage is deeper than lost deterrence. It is psychological and political. Years of propaganda painted China as a protector, a guarantor of stability. Yet when Thai jets dominated the skies and Cambodian territory bore the pressure, those assurances evaporated. No help came. The population absorbed the fear alone. This is the hidden cost of dependency disguised as partnership. For China, the episode exposes a structural weakness in its external security model. Influence built on money and hardware without commitment is brittle. The moment clients face real danger, loyalty erodes. Strategic silence may preserve flexibility in Beijing, but it destroys trust on the ground. And for Thailand, the lesson is straightforward. Capability matters. Preparation matters. Real weapons, real training, and real integration decide outcomes, not slogans, not ceremonies, not subsidized imports. This was not just a clash between neighbors, it was a stress test of power. Thailand passed, Cambodia failed, China revealed its limits. The warning could not be clearer. When conflict turns real, tofu weapons crumble. And partnerships built on dependency offer no shelter when the sky fills with enemy jets. For many years, a growing number of countries once described as China's strategic friends have begun to confront an uncomfortable truth. The promised benefits rarely materialize. Grand narratives of win-win cooperation often end in opaque loans, lopsided contracts, and long-term financial burdens. Instead of sustainable development, these nations find themselves trapped in cycles of debt, losing control over strategic assets while their policy autonomy steadily erodes. Upon closer inspection, this so-called friendship resembles a one-sided transaction rather than a partnership of equals. Infrastructure projects financed under these arrangements are frequently impressive in scale but poor in substance. Roads deteriorate quickly. Ports require constant repairs, and industrial facilities operate far below capacity or are abandoned altogether. Cheap materials, rushed construction, and weak oversight combine to produce what locals derisively call tofu projects, structures that appear solid on the surface but crumble under stress. When these projects fail, the cost of repair and recovery falls not on the sponsor but squarely on the host country. In the military sphere, the reality is even harsher. Weapons marketed as good enough often prove fit only for display. From radar systems and armored vehicles to aircraft, many platforms reveal serious deficiencies when exposed to real operational conditions. Components degrade rapidly, system integration is poor, and training support is minimal. When crises erupt, these assets either cannot be deployed effectively or become liabilities that must be protected. Rather than enhancing security, such acquisitions introduce new vulnerabilities.